Okay, for those of you who joined us last episode, we talked about the top 20 reasons why businesses fail. And we left you with a little bit of a cliffhanger that we were going to kind of address some of those reasons and kind of tackle it. So here you are. You've got your hosts, Ryan Murray and Ryan Owens, with the show Marketing Management and Money. We were reviewing the top 20 reasons startups fail. This is from CBInsights. So we appreciate the folks at CBInsights taking the time to come up with a pretty good list. I've seen different lists, and I feel like this one has some really, like they did their homework.
They took their time to really look into the specific reasons here, not just general categories of what you put on your divorce papers. I don't know.
Are you hinting at something?
No, I don't know.
Perfect. I'm just jumping back into the episode. Like, I'm not even going to go down wherever you were trying to take that. So if you didn't listen to last episode, I would highly recommend that you listen to last episode, because this is part 2. And, it's usually better to start with part 1. But hey, you do you, man.
And if you're here because you listened to part 1 and you're waiting for part 2, then our cliffhanger worked.
Perfect. So, as we mentioned in part 1, this is a list for the top 20 reasons startups fail. However, there's a lot of crossover between startups and existing businesses. And so the order might shift a little bit, but honestly, this is what you got to look out for. And so, so we're going to go through this. Now, we went through the list kind of bottom up, and we covered every single aspect. I don't think that we're going to cover every single aspect on this one. I really want to dig into it. And the way that I want to look at it is I want to start grouping these, because there are some common threads. I know that there are different reasons, but there are some common threads that, I see happen through this list. For example, and we're going to touch on this a little bit later, but, number 2 ran out of cash.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
and then you've got
pricing and cost issues.
Pricing and cost issues. That this is, do you understand your financial statements? Because they both link back to an understanding of financial statements. And so there are some things that that we're gonna talk about there. But the first one that I actually want to get into is kind of this. So lose focus, lack passion. Where were the other ones? Burnout.
Yeah.
All of these are when the entrepreneur just gets to a point that they're just like, whatever. And you might,
it's certainly one of the reasons, right?
Yeah. You might have some variation into exactly how you're experiencing that. And we all experience that.
Right.
And that's why I want to kind of start with this one, is because it's like, okay, at some point you're going to be tired. You're going to be like, why am I doing this? Why do I even care?
Yeah.
How do you get through that? How do you, do you just muscle through it and be like, oh, I'm tough, I can do this?
Yeah.
Do you step back? How do you get through that?
Short answer, I think it's you be tough and you muscle through it, right?
I would agree.
I know that's not the easy answer or whatever, but that's not why we're entrepreneurs, right? Like, entrepreneurialism it's not an easy thing, right?
Right.
So I'm actually listening to an audiobook right now. I was going to suggest this to you. I think you should check this out.
Okay.
It's by David Goggins. It's called Can't Hurt Me. So
okay.
This dude is, and I'm only partway into the book, but I'm like floored by it. This dude does not hold anything back. He's a Navy SEAL, like been through the ringer, had the worst upbringing I think I've ever heard of in my life. Like, some of the things that he experienced is just unreal.
Okay.
Right. And as a kid, he survived. Like, the dude is a survivor. He's ingenious in the ways he's, coming up with ways to get out of situations one way or another, right? Like, he's very creative, but the whole book is about his mental toughness and his tenacity and drive, right? And what he says in the book, he's just like, motivation sucks. And he says it in no uncertain terms, right? Like it's every which way with every word you can imagine. But, so I don't recommend it for anybody younger than 18, but it's a really good book in terms of mental toughness. And he's just like, you have to callous your mind. You have to build up that resiliency, and your reason why has to trump everything. And you have to know that pain will end. And so it's just like, you get up and you do it. It sucks, but you do it. And you seek out things that suck because it makes you better and stronger, right? It basically pushes you to that next level. And I mean, if that's not what entrepreneurs are all about, I don't know what is, man. Because we're gluttons for punishment in a lot of ways.
Ooh, man, you hit on some good things there. And this is the one that I really want to pull out. I've worked with entrepreneurs that to them, it's kind of a fun little, hobby business. They're like, oh, I love meeting new customers, and it's so much fun being creative.
Yeah.
But then when you get down into the trenches and you're like, okay, did you do your financials this month? No,
I haven't done it for the last 3 years.
Yet. All right. Are you sticking to your strategic plan? Well,
I changed my mind.
Kind of, but we're doing new stuff now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, let me just be really clear. Not everything in your business is fun. It never will be. And if you just want to play, fine, go ahead and play. But you
take up golfing.
You better either have a solid management team that's going to cover for all of the stuff that you're blowing off, or your business is going to start going under because you have to do you have to get dirty in your business. And there are going to be days where you're going to hate your business. You're going to be like, I don't want to do this. Doesn't matter. You do it. And that doesn't mean that all of it has to be drudgery. Like, you can still enjoy getting out and interacting with the customers. You can still enjoy just, whatever you do. I mean, some people, they just want to put their headphones on and program, and, it's like, don't bug me today. If that's your, level of enjoyment, great, that's fine. But you still have to do the stuff that you might not want to do.
For sure.
And just get it done.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
get used to getting it done.
Yeah.
So, okay, that one's really, really good, and I think we touched on some things there.
I kind of feel like you thought I might say something you might not quite agree with, and so you think there would be like this bigger discussion around it, but we're just totally on the same page. It's like, let's do this. Yeah. All right. Next topic.
Maybe. I know you pretty well, but sometimes you still throw me. So
yeah, I know.
Okay. I want to, into this next one, I want to talk about some of the marketing side of things. I mean, this hit number one, no market need, which is huge.
Yeah, it's a big one.
But you've also got things such as poor marketing, and I'm looking at product mistimed. I would actually put that as a big part of the, big part of the marketing.
User unfriendly product.
Oh yeah. Like not understanding the customer.
Get out competed.
So
pricing it. I mean, there are elements of these that are finance, but there are elements of these that are marketing as well, like pricing and cost issues.
Yeah.
Like, you should know by your market research what your market will bear and what they won't bear. And so if you've got some sort of issues, I would come back to your marketing efforts and take a look at, okay, are we priced too high for our market? Have we talked to our market about this? Are they the ones giving the bad feedback, or is this strictly an internal thing,
Yeah. The number one thing with everything that you're saying here that I have seen is just businesses skipping steps.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, I don't know how to do market research. And so they kind of just brush over market research, or no market need. Like, well, I didn't actually talk to my customers, but I really like this.
Yeah.
Or my customers gave me some feedback, but I'm still going to do it my way.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like a lot of times there's so many good intentions with entrepreneurs and small business owners, right? Because we want to do all these things. A lot of times it's just, we don't have time. there's not enough time in the day. I mean, when you're
Right.
already working an 18+ hour day and you're like, I really need to do that market research, and it's 2:00 in the morning and you're like, I need to go to bed, man. I have to. But then does that come back to, I don't know. And I'm going to come back to this book because this is kind of on my mind, right?
Okay,
but it's
okay.
like, at what point, I mean, you want to have things that you control in your day, that you can have these wins and whatnot. But at what point is it like you're killing yourself? Literally, like, I mean, I've always said, that if there are two things that I could get rid of in this world, it'd be eating and sleeping.
Oh, I love both of those things.
To me, it's just like I'm putting crap in my body to be able to continue to function, and sleeping is like I'm closing my eyes and wasting 8 hours so that I can continue to function.
No,
But then there are like people like David Goggins who sleeps like 4 hours a night. I don't get that. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. But here's the thing. You're kind of talking about just push it harder, push it harder, push it harder. And I'm going to pull back a second, and I'm going to say one of the interesting things about a lot of businesses is we set our own pace. We blame it on our customers. We blame it on our vendors, but we really set our own pace.
Oh, for sure. Because we let ourselves get caught up in this swift water current, so to speak, of business, and it's like, oh, we have to go faster. You don't have to go faster.
I was working with this business once, and they were talking about this idea of being so stressed and trying to push harder and all this kind of stuff. And I pointed out to him, I said, hey, just so you know, you could actually back off a lot of what you're doing and your company would be more profitable. Now, your sales would go down, but you're spending a lot of money pushing these sales. Driving sales is expensive.
Right.
And I'm like, you really could actually back off and be more profitable. So if your issue is that you don't have enough time in the day, just back off. Now, being the typical entrepreneur, there's like, I'm not backing off. Like, you would think that I just went to them and, just told them to like, disown their family. There's like, I'm not doing that. I have honor, and I'm trying to explain. I'm like, well, what is your goal? If your goal is to have more time and more money, then back off, because you'll be more profitable with, less effort put into it.
Right.
But there was, this ego that
it's like, I can do more.
Yeah. And we talked about ego in part one, where it's like, look, you got to leave the ego at the door.
Yeah.
And there's this ego that it's like, I got to do more, got to do more, got to do more. And, and so I look at it, jumping back to the actual marketing side of things, like there's this balance of, yes, you do need to stay on top of it. It's disciplined. It's not aggressive, but it's consistent.
Yeah.
And so if you want to be good at marketing is not really all that, mystical as some people think it is.
Right.
It's actually very disciplined, like doing the right things consistently. It's very similar to like exercise.
Yeah.
If you exercise consistently over a long period of time, you will see results.
Right.
If you market consistently over a long period of time, you will see results. And that's just how it works. But like with exercise, most people come January, there's like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And they kill themselves for a month, and then they're just like, oh, I'm done. And
I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. And that's how they treat marketing, is they're just like, okay, now we're going to do it. And they just push for a month.
Yep.
And I'm like, most marketing efforts take 3, 6 months, 12 months.
Yeah.
2 years is not too far of a stretch for a good marketing campaign.
Yeah. Well, and we've gotten so far away from patience in the marketing realm.
Yeah.
Because of
Instant
the internet,
results,
online,
instant
social
data.
media. Yeah. It's like these things have all of a sudden become immediate, these few small elements, and they make such a big difference, but you still have to apply that same level of patience and discipline, because just like anything, if you're looking at a very small set of data, it's not likely that you're going to be very accurate, right?
Right.
If you look at a much larger set of data, you're going to be much more accurate. You're going to be much more capable and able and ready to go attack that market because of that patience, right?
Yeah, man, I've never actually thought of it that way, but marketing is a very patient game, which is funny because most like salespeople are not patient people.
Right.
and maybe that's why I've never thought of marketing as being a patient game, but it really is, because gathering data takes time. Doing market research takes time. Waiting to see if your campaigns are working takes time. Building relationships takes time. Like it all screams patience. And I'm like, that's really cool insight. Thank you.
Especially when you don't seem to be getting the results you want to get.
Oh yeah.
Right. If your marketing efforts at first blush look like they're tanking, it's so difficult, especially in today's day and age, it's so difficult to hang on to that and be like, okay, what's really going to happen? Mm-hmm. I've only been at this for 2 weeks, or I've only been at this for a month. What's really going to happen in the long term? Now, I'm not saying that a failing campaign is always going to turn itself around, but there's definitely merit and value to setting a plan, creating a strategy based on solid information. You're making some, you develop your hypotheses, you make some educated guesses to the best of your ability, and then you apply those and you give them time to run their course. And once you do that, then you have a whole other set of data that you can refine that off of. So if it's going downhill, then and obviously you want to operate within certain parameters. I mean, if it just straight up tanks, then pretty quick.
Right, sure.
Like, I can't remember what year it was. They introduced a new color of Honda Civic to the market. Okay. And it was apparent immediately that the market hated it. And it was like some orange color. I think it was in the 90s. But it was like some orange, and it just tanked. And so it's like, okay, we're not doing orange again. You know what I mean? And I honestly don't think they ever have since then. So learn from the big boys.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's grab another topic here, another group, if you will.
Yeah, I want to grab some management topics.
Sure, yes.
I think that, we are marketing, management, and money, but there are a few of these that kind of have dual or triple roles, right?
Right. There's a lot of crossover.
Finance and marketing as well. But number three on the list is not the right team. And then you come down a few and you have a product without a business model. You have ignoring customers, product mistimed, disharmony among teams / investors. There are a few more down as we go down.
I want to throw in didn't use network.
Okay.
It's a little bit on the fringe of this one, but it kind of goes back to those people skills, like surrounding yourself with the right people internally and externally.
Well, and it still aims directly at the point that I want to make, which is, like we've already talked about, leaving your ego at the door, right? If you, as a management team or as a manager or business owner, entrepreneur, whatever you are, if you're the one calling the shots, or if you're on a team that's calling the shots, and you're so caught up in your own good ideas and the way you want to do things that you start edging out what your customers want, or you start ignoring the information of those on your team or those in your network, that can be really, really detrimental to small businesses, right?
Yeah. So talking about, ignoring team members, ignoring things, I want to look at number 3 here. It was not the right team. So this is an interesting one.
Okay.
Because here's the argument that I'm going to make. You're saying, like, are you ignoring the feedback that you're getting? A lot of times we think it's not the right team when in reality we're just ignoring the information. We're not taking the appropriate feedback. And I'm gonna throw this out there. I would argue that this doesn't happen as often as we think. I think that it's more often that it's not the wrong team, and people don't work through their differences.
Yeah.
And so, if you feel like you've got the wrong team in place, this is what I'm going to recommend. Take a pause and try to go at it from a different angle. And then if that doesn't work, take a pause and try and go at it from a different angle, and really try this several times, because oftentimes you've got the right people in. Now, if you have the wrong person and you know it's the wrong person, you've got to take action. But I'm going to give kind of a personal scenario. So
Sure.
I had a situation where I was bringing someone onto my team, and we had.
You can't talk about me when I'm right here. You know that, right? Like I'm gonna hear you.
This is actually this is Chris, and I can use his name because everything I'm going to say is super positive
Who's
about
Chris?
him. I know.
Just kidding.
So, we were looking at bringing someone new on to the team, and we met with 2 people, and I'm going to leave the other guy's name off because we didn't go with that person.
Carl.
Sure,
David.
whatever,
John.
you name it.
James. Is there a Lynn after any of these names? Just
stop. So, when we met with Chris, he was, and I'm going to use the term abrasive.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at that and I thought to myself, you've got all of the skill sets that I need, but your personality and my personality don't know how to work together right now.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I trusted my judgment that he was the right person. And I'm like, that's okay. We will work through this. That first month together was rough. It was really rough.
Okay.
And we were just sitting there, kind of butting heads. We each had our way of wanting to do things, and it just wasn't working very well. But after that first month, and we kept at it. We stayed professional the entire time. After that first month, we started to recognize each other's strengths and weaknesses. But here's the thing. Chris complimented my skill set. He wasn't like me, and that's why we were butting heads, is because he wasn't a mirror image of me. And so it was uncomfortable to have someone who didn't do things the way that I did, who didn't think the way that I did. Mm-hmm. And because he didn't do things the way that I did, we complemented each other, and we really were able to, move the needle a lot farther than just having a mirror image of me, someone that I could get along with, someone that was comfortable. And so I stepped outside of my comfort zone. And to this day, Chris and I are great friends. We still have a solid camaraderie. And, when we were working together, we were solid after we got through some of that initial. And so when you look at not having the right team, I'm going to say, are you surrounding yourself with people who are complementary to your skill set? And if you are, there's going to be a rub, and that's okay. It's not a problem to have that rub.
Right.
But, work through it and get to where it's no longer abrasive and to where it's now complementary, and it's really going to push the organization forward. And so that's what I'm looking at when I'm talking about management. And, you pointed out some of these things that would go along. And I know I kind of pulled it into my own little direction.
No, it's good. Like, it's basically where I wanted to take it with. You got to set your ego aside, because I love the fact that you didn't just say, well, if a different personality comes in, then you just cave. I mean, that's not the message you're conveying, right? This is, let's work through this together. I assume you and Chris are both strong personality types.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that doesn't, neither of you are going to cave to the other, right?
Exactly.
And that's not the point. That's not what you're saying. I look at this kind of as, if you hire somebody that's like, if you're a strong personality, if you've got a strong skill set, if you're a strong manager or whatever, you're like a pillar in the business, right? And if you hire people that are just like you, you're only supporting that one pillar. Mm-hmm. Right? But if you hire somebody that's complementary to you, thinks differently, thinks about things from a different angle, goes about things in a different way, you almost have these 2 pillars, as long as you can get them to lift the same roof, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. And once you do that, it's so much stronger, so much better than having just one strong person in the group, right?
Right, absolutely.
You now have this like synergistic, very capable kind of a machine that's able to work through things in a lot of different ways that otherwise you wouldn't have, right? Mm-hmm. And that's super valuable to a small business that needs to be agile, needs to be able to tackle things in different ways and take on different beasts,
Right. So we are kind of running short on time, but
Jeez, man.
I know.
I really like this one.
I do too. This has been awesome. And we're not going to extend it to part 3, but we really could. Maybe
so on part 3,
part 17.
I know, right?
Well, it'll be like, the Star Wars saga that never ends.
I know, right?
But we really need to touch on all of the finance side of it, and we mentioned right at the first that we were going to look at that cash flow piece, pricing and cost issues.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking down here and, kind of seeing a pivot gone bad that oftentimes that's kind of a financial thing. No financing or investor interest. Basically like you don't have the numbers where the numbers need to be. And I've seen in my experience that the biggest issue here is people take their household budgeting knowledge and think that that's sufficient to manage a business.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing wrong. I mean, if you're great at knowing how to grocery shop and pay your utilities and you've got A+ credit, that's admirable. But that doesn't mean that you understand, cash flow and inventory and receivables and,
accounts payable and
it's not exactly the same thing. So
money cycle.
Right. And so, just because you can manage your personal finances doesn't mean that you automatically understand business finance. So you have to have some training.
Yeah. And that's what I was just going to say. It's not hard. It's not like, I could do it, right? So there's proof right there. You're capable of doing it.
There's hope for everyone out there now.
Exactly. It's not hard. It's just you got to take the time to get familiar with the language, to get to where you speak that language. And once you do, it's like, oh yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
But then you have to have the discipline to do it.
And this is what I'm going to say. I've worked with hundreds of businesses on this front. And you don't just automatically figure out the finances. You want some outside expertise. And there are a plethora of ways to do it. You can take training programs, you can read books, you can get mentors. It really,
you can hire people.
Yeah, like there are a lot of options. But the truth of the matter is you need to educate yourself on finance.
Yeah, period. Even if you're not the one doing it, you can't make the smart management decisions that you need to be able to make to stay competitive in any industry. I don't care what industry it is. Mm-hmm. If you don't understand finance, you are giving up a competitive edge, period.
Yeah. And so you've got a CFO and you're like, oh, my CFO does it. Oh, my accountant does it. Doesn't matter. Educate yourself because the decision-making process, the CFO's job is to keep the finances straight for the company.
Yeah.
But you as an owner still have to make decisions. And these are financial decisions that have huge financial impact. And if you don't understand just look, is your CFO frustrated? If your CFO is frustrated, that's an indication that you need to learn a little bit to speak that language.
Yeah.
And it's on you. 100% it is on you to learn it. Doesn't mean that you have to know the ins and outs.
Yeah.
You don't have to get a degree in accounting.
Right.
But you've got to get educated.
Yeah. You have to be able to speak that language for sure. Well, I suppose it's time to tie this one off. Maybe there will be a part 3. Maybe there won't. You'll just have to hang on and see. But we've really enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. Please reach out to us with any comments or questions. We are at ryan@marketingmanagementmoney.com, and we will catch you on the next one.
Take care.
Take control of your business today. Go to learndesk.us and search Marketing Management and Money for the small business insights you've always wanted. Be sure to stay tuned for new episodes on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, and make sure to subscribe to be notified when we release bonus content such as interviews and short discussions.